ご覧の番組、この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。This program is brought to you by the following sponsors. この番組は Grand Sponsor Tokyo Day Oh Christmas. Welcome everyone! 皆さん、いらっしゃい。Thanks for coming! 来てくれてありがとうございます。I am Kamishiro Taishi, translator VTuber, and you are watching TLTalk. No, you're not. You're watching TLTalk. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. おはよう、こんにちは、そしてこんばんは。So TLTalk is a live talk show that aims to introduce people involved with translating, such as translators and software developers. Live TLTalk はリアルタイム翻訳者さんからソフト開発者までの翻訳に関わる方々を紹介する生トークショーでございます。The hashtag for the show is hashtag TLTalk. Feel free to let me know your thoughts and comments about the show. I will read them afterwards. この番組のハッシュタグは英語で TLTalk です。ご感想を書いていただければ後ほど読ませていただきます。So, without further ado, let's introduce the guest. では、早速ゲストを呼びたいと思います。Our guest for today is Des. Des, thanks for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me.
There we go. Please introduce yourself. Are you a translator or a developer? And is there a story behind your name?
Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Des. I'm basically a translator slash interpreter. I used to work as a game developer. So the story behind my name, honestly, it's just a little play on words on my actual name. But I'm just gonna put that aside.
I see. So you said you worked with a game company, right? So mainly as a translator, not so you don't know programming or that side, right?
I used to do programming, but I moved on to work as a translator.
Oh, so you can do both.
Well, I'm pretty rusty on programming, but yeah.
I see. Is there like particular language that you used?
It's mostly C++ and visual scripting.
Ooh, that's cool. That's cool. Would you mind me asking, how did you learn Japanese? Is Japanese your mother tongue?
No, I would say Japanese is my second language. How they ended up learning Japanese, I think probably everybody who loves anime and manga would probably relate to this. You'd probably start off learning because you wanted to be able to watch anime without subs or read manga without a translated version.
God,
so that's how I got started.
Do you remember what was your very first series?
Oh man, I can't remember what's my very first series that got me in. I guess if I had to say as a kid, it'd probably be something like Rurouni Kenshin.
Oh god, that's so good. That's a good one. That's a good one. Did you watch the live action?
I managed to watch a bit of it. I still need to I've been busy lately, so I didn't have much time to watch through the whole thing properly. But I definitely want I only saw bits and snippets.
Yes, you should. You should. It's one of the very few live action that does a really good job. The fight scenes are amazing.
Yeah, I saw a video where they're showing the behind the scenes for the live action, and it's probably one of the best live action adaptations of anime or manga.
Yes,
because I've seen Dragon Ball Evolution. We all know how horrible that was.
Yes. I mean, I think Netflix has a new FMA adaptation. I haven't watched it yet. I'm a little bit leery. I don't know.
Yeah, no, same here. I was browsing Netflix the other day and I saw it and I was like, I'm not too sure if I want to click on this just yet.
It might give me a heartache. I don't know. I opened Netflix and it was right there at the top. That was the trailer that I was playing and I was like,
Yeah. No, same.
I see. Did you learn Japanese by yourself or did you go to school for it or?
I started off self-studying for about maybe a year. Not a year, about 3 years. and then I realized I wasn't really getting anywhere. I have a family friend who's a Japanese teacher. She's like native Japanese. So she offered to like have like proper classes with me, and we've had like direct classes ever since.
Oh wow! You mind me asking how many years you've learned Japanese for?
This would be exactly 10 years. I've been studying for 10 years now.
Damn, it's been a long time. It never ends, does it? Though.
No, it never ends, and there's always more stuff to learn.
There is. Okay, next question. How did you discover VTubers, and what has been your journey so far?
I can't remember the exact point I discovered VTubers. I think it was probably the what do you call that? Project Winter video clip.
Oh, Suisei?
Yeah, Suisei is like the Suikopath, the birth of Suikopath, right?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. Before that, I knew there's like Kizuna Ai and a few other VTubers, but at that time I wasn't too interested. And then I think basically COVID happened, and then when you're at home and you have nothing better to do, you just discover VTubers. And I found Hololive from that Project Winter clip, and then started watching their streams.
Yeah.
And then that's how I got in. And then that's the entry point into the whole.
I think COVID was a big reason for a lot of people who got into VTubers in general, right? Both watching and both streaming, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, one good thing that came out of it, I suppose. So did you start off with like just watching like a lot of like Hololive members in general, and did you gradually? How did you basically? We all know you as the person who translates for Fubuki, right? How did you get there?
So I think, if I remember, because it's been a while already, so I don't really remember too well. But at the start, it was watching clips and then gradually moving on to live streams. And at some point, I basically, right, now I remember. Basically, I was watching Noere Dancho doing her Dark Souls streams.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Yeah, and I was watching it. And then at some point, Animal Crossing came out, and that became the trend for the streams.
Yeah.
And I had a lot more fun watching Fubuki doing all the, like her skits where she writes her letters to her villagers on Animal Crossing, and she acts out the whole thing. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is chill. It's very comfy. And I was like, I vibed with it. And that's how I started watching her.
I see.
Yeah.
Who do you like between Shirokami and Kurokami?
That's a hard question. Like they both have their good points, honestly. Like, okay, if everybody will have times when I'm gonna say this. I feel like everybody will have times where they're gonna be a doemu or a doesu. When you have the doesu kibun, you probably be like, I'd like to watch Shirokami, right? Because she's there to be bullied,
right?
And then if you're the side that wants to be bullied, you like Kurokami more.
That's a much deeper answer than I expected. Thank you for that. Were you there when when she came up with the not wife friend thing?
Yeah.
What did you first think about it?
I think it was like somebody threw that super chat, and I don't remember like if people did that before, but I was just like, oh well, big F for you there, buddy.
Nice. I mean, now it's such a big meme, right? Now everyone just says it all the time.
Yeah.
I love how like there's so many like moments that just seem innocuous at the time where it just takes off and it's the whole thing. Like Korone is like, I'm die forever, thank you, or something like that.
I think probably one of the earliest cases would be the glasses copy pasta.
Oh my god, yes, that's still around.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll forever be there.
Definitely. People bring it up every now and then. Yeah. I wonder if she'll still. I mean, she and a few of the members eventually went on to do a call out with a glasses company, right? They actually have glasses.
Yeah,
That's
I was
great.
debate. Yeah. She and Neo had a collaboration with this glasses company where they're
Yeah.
making glass frames themed after the both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty lost on whether I wanted to get it. This is like a side story. Basically, when they announced that, I had just gotten a new pair of glasses, and I was like, "Damn!"
Oh no!
Yeah, so I was like,
Timing.
yeah, horrible timing. So I just gave up on buying it.
Oh, you gave up. Oh, I mean, you could have bought it, and then like when you want to change your glasses again later, you could, you know.
Yeah. I heard they'll do reruns down the line, so they did do a rerun down the line, a second one. They might do a third one.
Hopefully.
I'll probably go then if I still feel like it.
That sounds cool. Glasses are really versatile.
Mhm. Yeah, thanks, Blub. Shout outs to Blub who translated that.
Yep. Okay, next one would be, how did you start doing live translation work for Hololive?
So I have to correct that a bit. I don't do live translation for. If you mean start doing live translation unofficially as a fan, that was because I was I was watching people. I think at the time everybody, Western English speakers were watching Hololive streamers and like, okay, what's she saying? And from that perspective, I was like, oh well, I just wanted to share what I understand and what she was saying, because people were making guesses. So that's how I got into live translating. By translating live during like Fubuki's Animal Crossing streams, right?
Okay.
But but if you're talking about official, I don't do live translation officially for Hololive. It's still like a fan thing.
Yeah, no, not live translation. Just like the the videos, the clips that they have on the official Hololive channel.
So I can't remember how it started. Essentially, at some point, T-Chan. I think everybody knows Hololive's the Hololive subreddit moderator T-Chan. They sent me they hit me up and was like, okay, well, are you interested in joining our team? And I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to join. Yeah.
I see.
Mm.
And that's how it started. I never got an email though. I probably can't do it anymore now.
Okay,
though.
To be fair, in between there was like a gap of time where it was just me hounding T-Chan for. I think people who saw it, like at the time I was doing like people were trying to submit captions for full streams, and all that tends to go through the T-Chan from what I understand. Yeah. So at the time I was just like, hey, is it up yet? Is it up yet? I kept poking them nonstop. Yeah. So looking back at it, I kind of feel bad.
I mean, what is this? I mean, not a lot of streams get full translations now, though. Anyways,
it's pretty hard, honestly. I think there's basically like too much content being pumped out, anniversaries and all that.
That's true.
And like it's hard for me to like make a comment now that I'm like officially part of the team.
Fair enough.
But like this is just my 2 cents, right? T-Chan is honestly a support worker, and there's quite a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Like I'll just use the Japanese phrase like 大人の事情.
大人の事情来た.
Yeah, right. So that's why quite a lot of stuff are stuck in limbo.
Right. Yeah, like reasons.
Yeah, reasons.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, have you had experience translating a whole stream?
Yeah, I did. I think 2 or 3 for Fubuki's.
Like VOD, like actual. Subtitle it afterwards. Yeah, caption it afterwards.
Yeah, it would be Fubuki's anniversary, like her her tech outfit. Her tech outfit reveal, and her second it was either her second or third anniversary stream.
Oh. How long did it take you? Do you remember?
I remember the tech one because that one was the one I probably put the most effort into. It took me about 3 to 4 full days to time and translate the whole thing, and then maybe an extra week or two for checking with a lot of like having a lot of other people TLC it.
I see. やはり時間かかるね。Yeah, it takes a long time for that sort of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I mean I don't have much experience with it myself. I think I did one for Kanata before.
Mhm.
It was like 1 hour stream. It took me like 9 hours total, like a whole
Yeah.
freaking day. And at the
Yeah.
end, I was so done.
Yeah, like translating it is like one thing. The other is having to time the subs.
The timing
Which-
is so annoying too.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Like,
what were you
yeah.
using? Aegis-up?
Yeah, ages up.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So like I like it would be like one line, and I would like add the marker, and then no, maybe the marker a little bit more this way, no, a little bit more this way, and then like no, maybe I don't. It was...
Yeah, like back then my workflow wasn't like that good. So one of the things I ended up doing was like I actually hard keyed like everything in like 0.25 second increments, which is like, yeah.
Oh.
So it was a lot more tedious.
No, I see. Yeah. Do you it's fine to say if you can't answer this, but like now that you translate like the whole life like clips, like do you have to do the timing, or does someone else do the timing, or it's fine if you can't answer?
Sometimes I still do the timing myself.
I see. Is there a better way of doing it?
Honestly, it's one of the things I notice is when you have the hard subs, the teropu on the screen, right? Then there it kind of goes into like you have to time accordingly to when they appear or when they disappear. Of course, there's no hard rule for this. At least personally, I don't have a hard rule for it. I tend to just follow unless it stays the Japanese hard stop, the teropu stays on longer than it has to. Then I would cut it off. So yeah, so it becomes more tedious in that sense because now it's not a 0.25 second increment. I'm literally going down to like, okay, every single frame by frame, the frame it appears, I have to set it there. So it can take quite some time. And when it reaches a point where there's no actual hard subs on the screen, it's just like, okay, yeah, I can just blanket carpet this area.
Right. So I have been sort of using the hologra episodes as practice. The subtitles, I've been using subtitles as practice material for my steno, and so as I would go to the transcript and I would click the line, right? And I have noticed at times that like the Japanese subs and the English subs, they don't sort of appear at the same time. I click the English and the Japanese is still not there, sort of thing. So the timing is frame perfect timing is very tedious. Yep.
It is. It's extremely tedious.
Yeah. All right. Since we're talking about subs, are there any experiences when you had to get really creative with doing subs?
The biggest one, it's not my proudest work, to be honest. There was one or two of the official holo shows where they did call that tongue twisters.
Oh no.
Yeah, and the tongue twisters were a play on names like Miko and Fubuki. And a few others. And you know, those are the cases where there's no way you can translate this to stick to the original meaning well enough.
Yeah, no.
So I was talking behind the scenes with like, you know, the people in charge. I was like, okay, well, I have to get creative with this, and like, yeah, no, obviously you should get creative with this. And I tried my best to make it as rhyme or seem as tongue twisty as possible. And that was just full on. At that point, it's full on be creative writing.
Right. Yeah. So you basically become the script writer, kind of. Yeah.
I just basically had to come up with tongue twisters that made sense, or at least it sounded like it made sense in the context that they were working with.
Did it take you a long time?
I was basically like I spent like a couple of days on. I was like, oh god,
Oh
this is
God.
rough.
Oh no. You look at it, you go, and you go out for a walk, and you come back, and you look at it, and you go again.
Yeah, and then you reach a point where you're just like, okay, I have to full send this. I can't
Yeah.
I can't take any longer. There's a deadline to do
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's just fucking, I'm gonna send this. If they don't like it, they'll tell me, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it turned into a this is the best I can do. I'm so sorry. And then just send a dogeza emoji.
Yeah. Oh my God, I can totally understand that. Oh God. Yeah. Guess it's good enough. Yeah, pretty much. Okay. So I heard. So you mentioned before that you translate for a video game studio for your real life work. So what are some differences between translating for games, for subtitles, for captions, and live translations?
So this is gonna be a bit of a long one. Basically, I think when
Sure.
people hear that you translate for games, they might they might think you're doing localization for like game stories, text, and all that.
Right.
Which that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is more like the DevOps side, the management side, which is where I'm doing, where I don't really translate or localize game dialogue. My company is basically a subsidiary company to the Honbu in Japan, right?
Okay.
Sorry, not Honbu, Honsha, right? And usually we would get a lot of things like criticisms, feedbacks, comments on stuff to improve, change, or do better. And those kinds of stuff come in either text form, in Japanese, which we would translate to English for our local staff, or it would come in the form of meetings where I would sit in and have to interpret. Yeah. So that's really what I do for my real job. As far as differences between like translating games, like subtitles and live translation, right? With subtitles, you have the freedom to like you get creative a bit, or you paraphrase quite a bit, at least as far as I can tell. Right?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. I'm coughing a little bit. Sorry. Excuse me.
Sorry, I'll continue. So in terms of subtitling, you tend to try to paraphrase because you have to fit a lot of lines into like a very short time frame.
Right.
So you start paraphrasing what they say, or you come up with different words. With my job, they kind of get the people at my work in real life. They get antsy a bit when I cut stuff short or I paraphrase things. So they'll be like, "That's not what they said fully. Like you're not covering like every single last detail they said."
Because it's more technical stuff, right?
It's not. It's less like sometimes it's the technical stuff. Sometimes it's the idea that they would say something like, "Kono tabi ni like the very very like Japanese polite way, or like itsumo osewa ni natte orimasu, that kind of thing, where you just shorten it down.
Yes.
To like, oh, thanks for your work, or something like that, which is very awkward, and they would get antsy if I don't like follow what they said.
Right. Yeah, I think they're a little bit worried that that the text doesn't sound as formal and polite, I suppose.
Yeah. Another thing as well is something that grinds my gears is whenever I think if people who work with Japanese people might get this sometimes when they say something like, "Oh, これにしていただいていただくとよろしいです," or something like that, right?
Yes.
Or like, or they'll add like と思います. And there's always like if you take it literally, they're saying like, "Oh, I think it'd be great if you do this," but the honne is that it's too wordy, and the second thing is honne is literally just do this.
Yes.
There's no please about it. It's you're doing this or you're screwed. Yeah.
And when you translate, what do you do? Do you include all the honne?
Yeah, at some points when it's extremely clear that they are like when it's clear that the writer is pissed, then I would cut it short. Other times I still keep that I think, because basically my bosses would check it and they'd get antsy if I don't.
I see. It's sort of like translating like based on like the expectations of the client, I suppose.
So live translation, the difference in live translation is that, well, first of all, when it comes to YouTube, you have a 200 character limit, right? So you have to, try to fit whatever they're saying within that time. But there's a couple of things, right? We say live translation, but honestly, it's really more interpretation. Like, and interpretation, there's two, right? There's either simultaneous, where you are translating it as they're saying, or it's like a time lag. Well, they'll say their line, they'll pause, let you interpret, and then they'll continue.
Right.
In my work, we do more of the latter, right? Where the Japanese counterparts would say a line or two, they'd stop, let us interpret, and then continue on.
Oh,
So-
okay. That's much much easier.
It's much easier and much better. When
Uh-huh.
it comes to live translating for streams, right?
Mm.
It's literally just a ride without breaks, because one is for the brutal honest truth about this is that the streamers don't have to wait for you. They're not obligated to wait for you, right? So they would
Yep.
just go on, and you just have to chase. You're just chasing a non-stop train in motion.
Mhm.
So you have to cut short a lot. There are a lot of times where you just simply cannot catch the sentences because you just don't have the time. They could cover 5 lines and you would only have the time to cover 3,
Yeah.
translate 3 of them.
Yeah.
So there's always that's why we say, or a lot of people will say, live translation is never 100% accurate, and that is true.
Definitely.
You're only ever going to get maybe 60 to 70%, maybe 80% at best, depending on the content. But it will never cover everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you do the interpretation for your company, like, do you take notes when people are speaking?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I will always have like a Word document open on the side monitor and just literally type down every single thing that they're saying or important key points.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's basically what Kiara does for her HoloTalk. Like,
Yeah.
I noticed that she translates it afterwards, and so she definitely is taking notes.
Yeah, it's more like you have to take notes, because if when especially when a speaker goes on for like a lengthy bit of time, right? You have to take notes of the important parts, because unless you have like photogenic memory and you can recall everything they said clearly,
Right.
then good, like more power to you, right?
Right.
But
yeah.
as far as like a lay person does, people do take notes. Like, even the best people who interpret in like, say, conferences and all that, they have notes. They have note takers as well. Actually,
Oh.
they would have for things like conferences where you have a person interpreting at the same time. They actually have a partner who's there writing, like taking down notes for them and passing it to them as they're interpreting.
Oh, wow. That would probably be a whole different skill set. Wow.
Yeah.
In the first place, I wouldn't even know how to work with someone when it comes to translation. Wow, that would be an interesting thing to get into.
Yeah. Imagine they would just hand you like a paper. It's just like keyword. It's like, if say they were like doing a gaming stream, it's like, oh, gamble, scrap, something, and you're like, wait, what? you have to make sense of. You have to like tie the keywords over.
Yeah. And the person writing the notes would also have to know what is best to write. Like don't write like random unnecessary stuff, right?
Yeah, like, my understanding of like these kind of high level interpretations is they would have a lot of like practice and experience working with each other. I could be wrong about this, right?
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding is that they would have been like a team or partner, a group that worked together a long time, so they naturally gel well with each other.
I see. So it's not just randomly show up, hey, it's you again.
I mean, if they know each other from before, that'd probably be it. But I don't think I can't imagine if you would just like, so they would be two unrelated people and have to work with each other on the spot. I think that would be a nightmare.
Fair enough. So something else I want to ask is, for your work, you translate English to Japanese and Japanese English, right? Both ways, right?
Mainly Japanese to English. There are a couple of times I'll have to do English to Japanese, but fortunately or unfortunately, those are few and far between.
Okay. Like, how's your K go?
Horrible. There is no salvation. Fortunately, because I work for a game development company, things are a lot more chill. Like the
okay.
most we'll do is teinego, like desumasuke.
Mm-hmm.
We won't do like heavy keigo, like otazunete, that kind of stuff. Right. Like I won't lie, my keigo is so bad that when I started, I asked my boss like, do I have to know all this? Because there should be training for this, right? And he's just like, oh, don't worry, you don't have to do that.
Okay.
Even my Japanese boss was just like, oh, don't worry, we're a pretty chill place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so what about when you send stuff to clients, or do you not have to send stuff to clients?
My position in my company is not really that high, so a lot of it tends to be, on the low level end.
Okay.
There are cases where I would do that, but usually that would get filtered by my boss, and he would look through it and be like, okay, well, do a tweak here, do a tweak there, make it sound more, make it sound more like polite, more like more proper, and then they'll send it off.
Right, yeah. So I used to work in an insurance company, and so I would have to contact clients like about their cases, and I sent all my emails to my superior, and then like she would like check them, she would fix them, and then send it back, and then I would send it to the client. I had to do that all the time.
I still do that every now and then, where I have to like send, I have to like translate all these emails, and I'd be like, okay, this is done. I send to my boss, and he's like, okay, yeah, so here, make these changes, and then you can send it off as well.
Yeah. I was so thankful. Like just knowing that, like I know I'm shit at Keigo, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Never sort of got better. Like one thing I did was I kept like a database of like common phrases or common things I would say. Not a database. Like I kept a lot of email drafts.
Oh.
Because like if I would say that like similar things, right? So like please send this document, right? Or like please check this thing, or like please do this thing for me, and so I would sort of like have it in a database, in a sort of like email draft, lots of them, and I'll just be like, okay, if I want to say this, and I'll copy and paste that in, and I'll just swap that in all the time. I do so much.
I should actually do that. I almost never, like, okay, I'm a sloppy worker, so whenever these things pop out, I have to be like, oh god, where's that email I wrote last time? I have to look it up. Spend like 20 minutes to half an hour like digging through like old emails to look for references.
Oh no, I downloaded them because this is Microsoft Outlook, right? So I downloaded them and I named them. Like this is general email 1, general email 2, general email 3, or this is like ask for documents, or this is ask for follow up. I named all of them, so I know which one I'm looking for.
No, like one of your chats said, that is big brain. I'm gonna steal that if you don't mind. I'm gonna use that.
Go ahead. Are you using Microsoft Outlook?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Japanese companies really like Outlook. I don't know why.
They love to use a lot of Microsoft software.
Yes.
Like I remember a big point of contention internally was me going like, okay, Microsoft Teams is horrible.
It is. My company uses Microsoft Teams too.
Yeah. The worst part was I found out, like I was talking with my boss about it, and then I found out that wait, why is our HQ using Slack and we're using Teams? What gives? I remember raising a big point about it, and I was like, at least use Slack, right? It's like, okay, I'm not gonna say use Discord because it still has that gamer vibe to it, and I think official companies might not like being associated with it.
Right.
But at least use Slack, right?
Yeah.
Teams is, oh my god.
It's so bad.
It is bad.
The thing is, my company, like, they moved to Teams. Before Teams, they were using something else that had like a limited number of rooms that you could open. Like only like 10 people could be in the room or some random shit, and there was like limited number of screen time. And I was like, why are you using that? And in their infinite wisdom, the tech team was like, we've discovered Microsoft Teams, let's use Teams. And I was like, oh god. But I was way down on the ladder, so I didn't say anything. I'm like, you do you.
I'm relatively outspoken, so that's why when and I thought I was constantly like poking at my boss, like, boss, seriously, like let's don't use Teams, like it's horrible. We've had cases where Teams somehow just went down. I don't remember the exact reason why, and there are cases where we literally just couldn't get any communication done because Teams was down.
Oh God. Okay then. I think let's move on. And now we're doing sort of lightning questions, is what I call it. It's just a bunch of sort of yes no as A or B questions, and so just go through them. Don't think too much about them.
All right.
Okay. Okay, first one. Hot weather or cold weather?
Cold weather.
Ooh. Rice or bread?
Rice.
Period at the end of sentences include subtitles or not?
Necessary.
Yes. Do you get ASMR?
No.
When are you most productive? In the morning or evening?
Evening.
Alright. Sub or dub?
Sub.
Country life or city life?
City life.
PC or console?
PC. Oh wait, there's no option for both? Yeah, fine, PC.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Do you sing in the shower?
No.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Texting or calling?
Calling.
Ooh. Boobs or ass?
You're really gonna make me answer this one. Okay, fine. Boobs.
Socks and sandals or not?
No, fuck no.
Do you skip anime OPs and EDs?
It depends.
Alright. Have you ever believed in Santa Claus?
No.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Do you work while listening to music?
I do.
Glass half full or half empty?
Is there no depends for this?
No.
Empty.
Not. Okay. And if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
The ability to teleport anywhere on the Earth.
Alright. Thank you for that. Let's bring it back a little bit. Alright. あれ戻してない。戻されてない。ちょっと待って。Okay, there we go. Let's talk a little bit about the teleporting. Why do you want that? Where do you want to go?
Okay, so that I can literally visit any. Okay, I'm just gonna say it, right. So I can go to Japan without having to pay for air passes, because, like, thank God they opened the board. They opened the borders. They're opening the borders in like another week or two.
Did, yes.
Yeah, they finally opened it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, finally, I want to travel, right? I took a look at the airplane tickets. I was like, okay, yeah, no, the prices are so high.
They jacked it up.
Yeah, they jacked it up.
Oh, I see. Where would you go if you could?
Obviously Japan.
No,
I've actually been interested. Kyoto.
Kyoto.
Yeah,
Have
Kyoto
you been?
and Osaka. No, I've only ever been to Tokyo.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so I actually have a trip planned for next week. And I actually bought the tickets before they announced the thing when they still needed like a tourist visa. So I still have to apply for a tourist visa. But at least back then, the plane tickets were much more reasonable.
Yeah.
So. What music do you listen to when you work?
I listen to a wide variety of music, and my favorite genre changes. Nowadays, it's future funk.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar, but it sounds. What kind of music is it? What? Is that like
It's
upbeat or like chill or like?
honestly, if I'm not good with music, so the best way I can describe it is something along the lines of like, more disco, like city pop disco kind of fusion, that kind of thing.
Cool. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you listen to Hololive music a lot?
No, actually.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm so behind on music because I work in complete silence, so I don't have any time to listen to any music, so I don't know any of them, sadly.
Like I said yes, right? But there are times when I don't put on music, especially if like there's lyrics, because it can actually like make it hard to process. But if it's stuff
Right.
that's like easy for me to work quickly with, like I don't have to think too hard, then I would play music.
Yeah, it's like extra information into your brain, right? And so your brain has to
Yeah.
process to tune it out, so I can't do that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Pineapple pizza. So yeah, I like pineapple on pizza too. So yay.
I know people. Okay, we can comment on a bit. I know people will have might find it a point of contention. For me, pineapple on pizza is like a thing. I feel like it's a thing that's in Asia. That's like very normal. Like I grew up having like pineapple on pizza, and I was like, oh yeah, it's as a kid, it's like okay, sure, and then I'm like, okay, well, you just get used to it and you don't think twice anymore.
Yeah, you just don't think twice about it at all.
So someone in your chat said your love of honey on pizza.
I don't particularly love honey on pizza. I don't mind it.
Okay, though the YKS guys would probably know this. Like I have brought this up last time to defuse an argument. You guys keep fighting about like pineapple on pizza versus no pineapple on pizza, right? Have you tried having like weird dessert pizza with like condensed milk, brown sugar, kidney beans, corn, and like jelly? Like I've had that,
Oh
So-
god.
Like, if you think pineapple on pizza is a travesty, there are worse things than that.
I mean, I've had tapioca pizza. I had boba pizza before. It was sweet. That's
Dude,
all
I
can
actually
say.
like I know a local place had boba pizza a
Mhm.
long time ago, and I've been thinking of trying it, but I never had the
Mhm.
chance to. I would give it a try. I won't lie.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it. I was like, ha. So I gave it a try, and honestly, it was not bad. Like, so I finished it. It's not like, oh, I can't finish this. It's not like that. It's honestly, it's
Yeah.
fine. Whatever. Okay, last thing I want to ask about the period at the end of sentences in clip subtitles. This is a thing that I care a lot about. But some people, I don't understand why some people don't put periods at the end of their sentences. What do you think about
It's-
this?
I mean, I would say maybe in some cases, like titles, like when they show like a title or they show
Right,
like
yeah,
like a
title is
specific
different.
sign,
Yeah.
those kind of things. Like in some instances, it kind of makes sense, but when
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
people talking,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, like I think it just looks more like I think it comes down to like a level of like professional, right? You want this to look professional, you want this to look proper.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So like having proper uppercase, lowercase, your apostrophes, all your proper grammar like in
Exactly.
order.
Exactly. It must have it. Is what I always think. But I see so many clip channels, they don't
Mhm.
add it. I don't know why. It's so weird to me.
Yeah,
It's-
that or they don't like uppercase the first letter in a sentence.
Oh god, no.
it it triggers the OCD.
Oh yeah, so badly. I need proper capitalization. I need my proper M dashes. I need my periods. I need everything.
Mhm.
People talk in sentences and sentences end with a period. Thank you for that.
Yep.
All right, getting back to the questions.
Mm.
I think you sort of answered this already a bit earlier, but how did you
Yeah.
get into live translation, right?
Yeah. It really started with watching streams and seeing people be like, okay, so what's she saying? What's she doing? And it started off with just like, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that, and then gradually it turned into, oh, well, this is what Fubuki is saying, and then like it just naturally felt like, oh, it's nice to help people understand what she's saying and what she's thinking right now, instead of having them go guesses, especially when they do something funny. Like when Fubuki goes unhinged and she starts ranting about crazy stuff. More specifically in the Animal Crossing case, it's like her raving over one of her villagers. It's just like for people who didn't understand, it's just like what she's saying. She sounds unhinged, and that's all I know.
Yeah, she sounds excited about something. I don't know what it is, but
yeah. But or even things like like her reacting to finding out for the first time about Wendy's.
She did a stream, didn't she? A burger stream.
Yeah. Like, it's a long time ago, so my memory isn't exactly the best. But it was the localized name for one of the villagers being Wendy's. Wendy, and then she was like, oh, and somebody told her, oh, it's a fast food chain, burger chain, and she just looks it up.
So that's how that came about.
But she was reacting to Wendy's menus.
She did. I know she did that. I didn't know why she was suddenly looking up a Wendy's menu.
Specifically what brought that was just a villager named Wendy being, I think it was a sheep or something.
I see.
It was like,
I see. That's hilarious. Oh my god. Okay. So in chat, someone says alt1051. Definitely understand. Just also want to say n dash. If you type 3 of it, it auto converts into an m dash. So that's a tip for you. Okay. The next question. Do you have particularly memorable experiences doing live translation?
The time where I literally translated, I was probably on like what was the word for it, like takse. Basically, like I was on a roll, and basically translated everything so fast that YouTube instantly shadow banned me.
It's an annoyance, but at the same time, it is a badge of honor, isn't it?
It's like it's a bot detecting you and saying that you are better than a bot.
Yep. Yes. It's sort of like, oh, I have to deal with this, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I have to deal with this. I've had that happen also with live TO or I think it was live TO, and so I had to make a Twitter post like, please don't make sure that you whitelist me. Fair enough.
It's just one of those other constraints, right, with the platform.
Yes. Like you mentioned before, like YouTube has like a 200 character limit, right? So preferably we want to just like get the sentence every time the streamer says a sentence. We want to type a sentence, but then if we do that, then we send 2-minute sentences, and YouTube is like, nope, don't do that. So when you do live translation, like do you do several sentences in one block?
I tend to try to clump at least maybe 2 to 3 sentences in one block if I can fit it.
I see.
Yeah, just to try to like reduce the chance of like, especially if it's just like one sentence, it's just like oh, I like that kind of thing. It's like it is so short that it doesn't really like sending it by itself is like extremely pointless. Like I would try to like link that into other sentences.
Right. And you just use up your sentence limit for no reason.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Are there any other memorable experiences doing live translation? Like any particularly hilarious part that you felt like that you did really well on, or a part that you felt like I should have done better, or
I mean, there are certainly cases where I should have done better. Like in cases of like when they're doing gaming streams. I remember like one. A good one was when Fubuki was doing like the whole Pokemon stream. I couldn't catch all of them, but for the ones that I could catch, it's like when you get the localized names right for Pokemon. So that's like one of the things that I think like is really nice to get right. Especially if they do a wordplay and you kind of figure out something that works with it. Like like Bidoof is I forgot what the joke was, but she did a wordplay on Bidoof, and I did something that I think is like okay-ish to like cover that. Or like Apex when they're making memes about Bangalore or that kind of stuff.
Wait, you managed to work in jokes into your live translation subtitles?
Sometimes it's possible.
God damn.
I wouldn't say it's like the best possible, like the best thing ever. Like, you know, I wouldn't say it's the best, but I think it could work. You know, like one example I can remember was them in Apex. There's a character called Bangalore, right? And they decided to play it in Japanese, like Gambaroru. For when it's just like when they want to say like Gambaro or something, probably they would substitute with Gambaroru. And it kind of doesn't really make sense in English. So I just like I just did something along the lines like let's bang out a victory or something.
Oh damn! You actually go the extra mile. Damn.
I try to.
Oh, dude, I've never actually gone that far, so very impressed. Damn. And Pokemon names, like, have you played a lot of Pokemon? Do you?
I grew up on Pokemon as well, so I did play. I've played everything, all the Pokemon mainline games now.
Even the latest one, like Arceus or something?
I never finished that one, but I do have the game.
I see. Funnily enough, I actually never got into Pokemon, so I only know the ones from probably Gen 1 and maybe Gen 2, which is far in the past.
I think that's fair. Everybody has games like they would like and not really that aren't too keen on.
Right, yeah. Okay. Next, what are some constraints of live translation? We wanted to talk about this a little bit, right?
Yeah. So I think one of the constraints is, I think obviously here are the direct constraints, right? Your 200 character limit. If you don't have membership, then you are basically, and they put on slow mode, then you are gate kept by slow mode. So those are like the two like immediate things that come to mind. But on the like broader scale, it is the fact that one is it's always a train in motion. You can't stop it; they won't stop for you. So whenever, especially if you're working with people who speak very, very quickly, you have to catch up as best as you can.
Yes.
And you won't ever be. And the reality is that you can't always 100% catch up, right?
Yeah. No.
And another thing is also, you never know what you're gonna get streamed. Like putting aside gaming streams, when it's Zatsudan stream, what they can talk about can completely be like, you don't have any prep for that. And people might not know this, but when it comes to interpretation, or at least in like an office setting or like proper setting, right, you would have a pre-briefing, like especially like as far as my work goes, before I go into an interpretation, we always have like pre-briefings, like this is the agenda, what they can talk about. So you have some snippets to work off of, and so you know where the direction go, or they will give you context.
Wow.
They can give you, there's always context, like, okay, we were doing this last week, so we wanted to bring that up in the meeting. But in a live translation setting, you don't have that, right? They could just go on anything, on a tangent, and talk about what they had in their day, and you kind of have to like work with that. So there are cases where you just don't have context to work off of.
Right, yeah. For the Zatsudan, you never know what comes up. I see in chat someone mentions food. Yep, food. Fuck food. I mean, I love food. I love to eat food. I hate translating when people talk about food.
I remember there was like one time she was talking about, like Fubuki was talking about okonomiyaki, and like the two different styles, right? Like the two different styles of cooking okonomiyaki, and I was like, oh god.
Was it like monjaki and okonomiyaki, or you mean like Hiroshima and Osaka?
Hiroshima and Osaka style. It's like two completely different styles, and it's just like without knowing like all that context, like how like the differences. I mean, I was on the spot. I was immediately googling like, what's the difference? I got to take a look at the images, like, oh, okay, because when they're describing how it looks, and you don't like. It's hard to imagine how something looks just off somebody describing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even more so to like try to make it make sense. Yeah. So those are like those are some of the stuff you kind of run into.
Yes, definitely. So Mio does asa Mio, and basically once every 3 weeks, if she makes it, she gets like submissions from Twitter, and once every 3 weeks, the submission topic is about food. Like, what is the food that makes you think of autumn? What is the food that gives you energy? It's literally all just food that comes up, and it's just all these names and ingredients and about like this. It comes from this area, and like it's different from food in this other area. And I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, there's like cases where Fubuki would geek out about things that I literally don't know. Like it could be like, for example, Gundam. I remember there were a lot of cases where she would geek about Gundam, and I'm not a Gundam. Yeah, I'm not a Gundam person, right?
Fair enough.
I know nothing about it.
Fair
so
enough.
When they go into like they start nerding out about all that stuff, I'm like, this is all sailing over my head. I have no clue.
Yeah.
Right?
So we just stop. We just let the topic go on.
Honestly, flat out, the best thing you can do is just stop and not do anything.
Yeah. Because I don't know about Gundam either. So yeah, and every once in a while, Social talks about Gundam because she does Gunpla.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. So also you mentioned the constraints being like we can't catch up, right? So we do have to drop information. We have to drop sentences every once in a while. So like knowing what to drop and still be able to maintain the overall gist of what they're saying. And so that is also a skill that that you get better the more you do it, but it is something that you do need to train. Yeah.
And speaking of which, there's also like another constraint is large collabs, right? Large collabs are, I mean, honestly speaking, this is like a setting that's only really like a live translation thing. Like when you go into interpretation, you rarely would have this case where you're kind of like having to translate or interpret for more than one person,
Right.
Like even in my actual job, like at the most I would ever have is like 2 people or 3 people talking the back and forth. And in those cases, I would just summarize everything. But in an actual setting, so that's when you can't translate exactly what everything this person is saying. A person is saying.
Yes.
The only recourse if you want to translate it is just to summarize everything, or God forbid, right? You would have translators assigned to each person, which is what the conferences do. They would have a person for each speaker, but that brings the question of people having to be able to work together and getting the pacing correct, which is a whole different whole different ball game.
I would imagine, yeah. Have you tried doing live translation for collabs?
I've done for like their Minecraft collabs or the Among Us collabs.
Among Us? What? Like 8 people?
Yeah.
10 people? Like that?
I generally do Among Us. I keep it to, well, if she's muted, like Fubuki's muted and talking to herself, that's at least still one person, so it's fine. When they're all throwing discussions around, there's no way I can catch everything. So I try to listen up for the important points and summarize it. Like, Fubuki's saying this, Noel's saying this. They're asking who. They're asking who done what where. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, collabs. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. To answer one of the comments in chat, do you predict what the speaker will say during live TL interpretation? So my understanding, like this is one of the things I learned, right? For the people who do simultaneous interpretation, for the conference level, the very high up ones, there's this thing they do where they would shadow the people they're speaking with. So they basically they're gonna speak the interpret for. So they would basically spend a lot of time following what this person is doing. This is the extremely high level for political figures and all that.
Damn.
They would shadow, like I say shadow, but they would basically be like constantly looking at what these people do, like how they do their speeches, and trying to figure out or adapt to their cadence of speaking and what their mindset might be. And that will help them to be able to like get a little bit of a step ahead in terms of figuring out what the person might be saying next.
crap.
That's what, yeah.
Got
That's
you.
so, yeah, that's the extreme high level stuff that honestly you wouldn't really do in live TL unless you are really sure. But it's a big risk, right? Because if you get it wrong, well, you got it wrong. Interpretation that I do for my work, there's rarely any prediction. Everything's cut and dry. There's always an agenda. What they say is what they'll say. Plus, they wait for you, right?
Right.
So once they finish the sentence, if there's anything that I don't understand, I can always just ask them like, "Oh, what did you mean by this?" Or can you give a bit more context to what you're saying? With live TL, it's really just working what they say. There are cases, I would say, where you can sort of predict what they're gonna say.
Yes, yes, there are.
especially like in reactions in the game, it's very at some point it becomes very obvious like how they would react, especially if you translate it for them long enough.
Right. Yeah, it's basically our version of shadowing the person, right? Because you just translate for them so long, you sort of know how they react to certain things. The way that they would say certain things.
Yeah, you can basically at that point you can basically guess how they're going to do it. Like one of the earlier cases that I managed to pull this off was a long time ago when Fubuki was writing a letter to her villagers in Animal Crossing. I somewhat managed to predict what she was gonna say. So that was like a point where it's like, oh, that felt good. It's like one of those feel good moments.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, I guessed it, I knew it.
Yeah. When you're before they say it, you're like, oh, you're gonna say it, and they say it, and you're like, yeah.
Yep. You do like a small little jig inside, but it's only for like a split second because you already moving on to the second one, the next sentence.
Yep.
But yeah. So a little bit still talking about the constraints a little, like the first constraints that you mentioned about where it's more YouTube constraints rather than the translation constraints, where there's like when you're doing translation on YouTube, each comment has a 200 character limit and you can't go too fast. So there have been sort of ways that we've been trying to sort of get around that. Right, so one is like and I'm very thankful for this. Socho made me a mod on the channel, right? So as a mod, then I don't have to worry that I would get shadow banned, and so I can send as many sentences as fast as I want. So because I do that, then I don't have to worry about the 200 letter limit either, because I don't go that far. Because it's one sentence go, one sentence go, one sentence go, like that. In other cases, sort we have this thing. We used to have this tool called mchat. It's gone now. So now what a lot of the live translators in the Hololive sphere use is something called TLTalk, which is tied to this website Holodex that I think a lot of people use to watch streams, especially when they have multiple streams like Among Us collabs or whatever. So what TLTalk does is, like, if they type in a sentence, and the sentence, it goes to chat, it goes to live TL, which is another extension where people can see translation lines like in a separate window, and it also goes to Discord for Discord servers that are plugged in. So even if the first one, the YouTube chat, they basically get shadow banned or they get whatever, the second and the third would still be there. So that's basically how people are now trying to sort of like, basically we've given up on YouTube chat. We say like screw that, and so people who want to see translations would have to see it on live TL, or if they're in a fan server. A lot of people who are sort of in the fan servers, then they'll watch it together with people, and they would also see lines in the server. That's basically how they do it now. So and I'm very thankful for the teams who sort of make all this tech possible. Like I don't know programming, I don't know jack shit. So more power to them. Just wanted to give them a bit of a shout out. Yeah,
they're doing great work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely irreplaceable. Okay, next, so in light of the constraints, what would you say is the purpose of live translation?
I mean, Essentially, it is just trying to relay what they're saying to the general audience so that the audience can understand, right? I know there are people who would say like, oh, maybe they use live translation as a way of learning Japanese, which honestly speaking, I wouldn't really recommend that because there are cases where we have to like be very like heavy filtering, or there's a lot of, because again due to the constraints, paraphrasing, things get lost in translation and all that. But at the end of the day, I think it's just like us trying to one is as a fan, it's a way for us to give back to the streamers whose contents we enjoy, especially if we don't like we can't afford super chatting or memberships or that kind of stuff.
Oshikatsu.
Yeah, it's another form for your oshikatsu, right?
Yeah.
Another is also just trying to help them, like help make their content a bit more accessible to people watching it live. So that, like, I think that's the purpose of it.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's good. Like sort of I see this a bit more these days because I'm sort of a little bit involved with the VShojo. And so VShojo did a thing where they sent out an official call, right, asking for to build a team of live translators to translate for basically Nazuna. And recently, I think Iron Mouse also sent out a call asking for live translators for Spanish.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, as I'm it makes me happy to see this sort of like a bit more sort of like make this like sort of more of an official thing, basically. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a downer thing to talk about, but I feel like one of my concerns with that, if I may just talk about it, is I hope that streamers can actually like at least see that there is because there is a certain level of like quality you need to be able to do all of this, right? And I feel like one of the big concerns is getting people who are just kind of like doing it, but they're not necessarily trained or are at the level where they can it's okay for them to do that kind of thing. Because I think you can also attest to seeing your fair share of people doing live TLs where you probably want to tell them like nobody, maybe you should try practice it, like learn a little bit more, study a bit more.
Yeah. Some people sort of like intentions are good, but the skills are not quite there.
Yeah.
Yes, there is definitely. Yeah. And sometimes like they mean well, but like what they're typing is actually wrong, and you can't really point them out when the stream is going on, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you don't want to come across as like a gatekeeping kind of person. People hate that word, like he whatever he's doing, it's helping somehow. It gives us a little bit of context, but you can't really explain it to sort of everybody, I suppose.
Yeah, it's kind of like a either way you lose kind of situation where
like similar to this, a bit worse, but similar to this is a lot of Japanese streamers these days seem to be adding like auto translations on their stream.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of those.
that drives me up the wall actually a little bit, because it's like they think like it would help, it would give the viewers a bit of context, but like it's wrong. It's blatantly wrong. Either it doesn't work, like it's not saying what you're saying, or it's saying something else entirely. Like it's picking out like you're saying like a full sentence 1, sentence 2, but the thing is picking up like the middle part of both sentences or some random shit. It's just
This is a funny thing that I was like looking at as well, because I don't know what they use for the sort of like text-to-speech thing that they do on their overlay. This is sidetracking a little bit, but I remember people were talking about how like, oh, why doesn't YouTube have like auto captions for live streams or that kind of stuff, right? And there was talk about how YouTube's text speech to text isn't exactly the best. Like it's pretty crappy.
Yes, it is.
It can't even detect Japanese properly.
Yeah.
But the funny thing I found out, because I actually had this discussion at work as well, we found out that YouTube has YouTube is now owned by Google, and Google has a system of like speech to text that can capture Japanese speaking very well, like quite well, honestly.
Oh, it
like,
does.
It's not 100% accurate, but it's like 90% above or higher.
Wow.
So, yeah, but I'm surprised that still doesn't work for you. Like, I don't know if they actually ever apply that to YouTube.
Oh,
interesting.
interesting.
Like, if they had that, that's one hurdle down, right? At least in terms of that. When they use these kind of things, I'm not gonna lie, I think like time has changed my perception of it. I can, in some ways, you do hope that they would get if they actually want to do this, they would get like proper translators. But as we all know, proper translation is very costly. It's a very time-consuming labor, and
not many of us out there.
There are not many people are out there, and it's not exactly affordable for especially if they're a small indie. But for the indies, they do want to interact with their foreign speaking fan base, right? So in a way, I would say like it is kind of like what's the best way to say this? In devil's advocate, no, I wouldn't say it's devil's advocate, but I can see it as this crappy text to speech, speech to text translation thing can be seen as a form of content. It could be good fun if people understand that it's not reliable, especially like what one of the chat set where Socho uses it.
Socho, yep, she used it in the right way. Like she put it on and she laughed at it. She was like, "This is shit." That's totally understandable. Yeah.
I think that's like a good way to use it. It definitely is. I wouldn't really say it's great if they're very reliant on it and take it for what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. While singing in karaoke, yep, she did that. That was a hilarious one. Okay, then I think we are coming up on the last question. What are some ways you want to see the live TL community improve?
Okay. Minor nitpick. Punctuation in your TLs. I see people just doing like EN and everything is like lowercase and no periods, all that. I mean, it's a small thing, but I think if you want to at least present yourself like as doing something, these kind of things, I think it's important that you at least try to put effort into doing this because it's proper punctuation. It looks more cleaner, more professional in a way.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it also shows that you actually have at least to me, right? I think that it shows that you have proper thought into like constructing sentences properly and trying to reflect a clean image.
Right.
Now, one thing that I've noticed in quite a few people who do live translation when I watch other streams is do your research for I mean, I'm not going to say do your research for Zatsudan topics. That's impossible to prepare for. But when it comes to gaming streams, you can always do better. Especially if it's something as simple as their Japan, like play a Pokemon game where it's their Japanese name versus their English name. Don't just write their Japanese name. What the Pokemon name is English, you can just go for that. Or same for Apex, like learn the gun names. If you don't really like the game, even if you don't like the game, if you're translating for them, you should at least put that effort into it, right? Like it's a small bit, but it helps. At least learning the games. Like one of the things I actually have, like when I was translating for like Pokemon streams, was I literally had the wiki open on a side monitor. Like people, like I saw, like people were asking me, like, "Oh, do you memorize everything?" Like, no, dude, I looked it all up on the spot.
I see.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But it's all these kind of little things that you can work to improve, right? Japanese ability is something that takes a long time to improve at. Even I after 10 years, I still am not exactly good at a lot of things. There's a lot of times where I don't really know, or whatever they say can sail over my head.
Right.
But notwithstanding, the other things you can work on is at least knowing the game, like knowing the games they play and getting the correct terminology. That helps paint a clearer image to people. Because I mean, nobody's gonna understand what Hitokage is.
That's true. Fair enough. Bulbapedia. I've gone there a few times. Yes.
Yeah, I've used Bulbapedia and Cerebi for Pokemon stuff.
Yep, I recognize that name too.
Yeah. The Monster Hunter streams are pain though. I hate the Monster Hunter names.
I think the Monster Hunter has the monsters have different names, and also their weapon names aren't there.
Yeah. and all their different skills that, man, it's pain.
Oh my god, Gambare. I imagine translating them was also a pain too. So this is a bit of a detour, but like in the light novels I translate, they're like there's like moves, their attack names, their move names, their skill names, and translating those are a fucking pain.
Oh yeah, I've been reading like some web novels recently. I want to ask you this: like, how would you approach translating if they like how they would say like they would write like the skill names, like the wazame in like full Japanese, and then add like the furigana like in katakana, and it's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Like, what was your thought process to translating that kind of stuff? Do you just go with what they did for the katakana, or you just work with the Japanese name that they wrote?
Well, basically, I do whatever feels better, whatever feels less bad, I suppose. Because like the katakana, sometimes it's English with quotation marks English. If it's sort of okay, then I would touch up the grammar, and then I'll just let it be. Sometimes if for example, if the actual name is just an actual weird name, for example, if it's just Excalibur, then it's like an actual name, then I'll just ignore the kanji, because whatever the kanji they put onto it, whatever, it's an actual name. Sometimes English, it sounds really weak, because they aren't familiar, so they choose weak words, so that I instead I ignore the katakana, and I come up with something based on the kanji, basically. So it depends. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, the Monster Hunter team, good luck.
But no, it's more like hopefully there will be a fan wiki that can actually like write everything, list up everything just nice side by side.
If only, right? If they have everything, right?
If only.
If only. Okay, I think that's it for my questions. And so the last one is just promotion time. Do you have anything going on? How can we support you? Or do you have anything else you want to promote? Anybody else you want to promote? Go ahead. Stage is all yours.
Okay. I mean, as I think I haven't really been live translating much because I've just been busy with a lot of personal issues, and I would say that at this point, like live translation is sort of on indefinite hiatus for me. If you want to support me, like you can support me. Like I think it's gonna sound like a corporate shield, but honestly, if you really want to support me, you can just support Hololive, right? Because I am kind of like working for them. So the little like whatever super chat send, tiny bits of crumbs will trickle down. And it also turns into job opportunities for us, right?
That's true. That's true.
For promotion, okay, another shilling. Watch Legend of Polka, guys. Like the content's great. I enjoyed working on it, and I hope everybody can watch more of it, because honestly, like it's really great content.
That's one thing that I've never actually gone into. I never got around to making time for it, but that I definitely want to look into that sometime.
It's a fun show. It gets crazy sometimes.
I would imagine. I can imagine it being polka. All right then. That is all the time that we have for today. I hope everyone got to know more about Des. Thank you for coming onto TLTalk as a guest. So before we end, I usually have everybody say a certain phrase that means "see you later, guys" in Cantonese. Sort of took this idea from Kiara. The pronunciation is "大家再見." Yes, 大家再見.
Okay.
Yep.
Hopefully I didn't butcher that.
No, it was pretty similar. Pretty good. Okay then. On 3. So 3, One, two, three. 大家再見。
大家再見。
Bye bye. Thank
Bye
you.